Hello everyone, welcome to our first lecture on rubies. Today we'll be discussing the ruby, which is recognized as the rarest and most valuable gemstone on the global market. First and foremost, I would like to mention that throughout my presentation, I'll be showing slides with all the gemological information. These slides will include the physical properties of rubies. We won't spend much time on this. Instead, we'll focus on the most crucial and less obvious aspects of market information. Our discussion will focus on the value, rarity, uniqueness, and how origin impacts this value, particularly with Burmese rubies, for example. We'll also discuss the current availability of these materials in the market. I'll share many interesting details and provide some price ranges. However, it's important to note that these are just ranges. They should not be used as a basis for exact pricing because determining the specific value of a ruby involves physical inspection. This includes checking if it has been treated, its origin, color grading, and other factors. First of all, it's important to examine the stone yourself. These price ranges are meant to guide you in understanding what prices are reasonable, competitive, or excessively high on the market. So let's start with the fact that today, rubies are considered the rarest and most valuable among the top 3 colored gemstones: rubies, emeralds, and sapphires. Over the past 15 years, ruby prices have gone up by 190%. Starting from the year 2005, we have observed a significant growth of 190%. What are the reasons behind this substantial increase, and why does the growth appear uneven on the chart? Initially, the growth was slow, but then it rapidly accelerated. What could explain this pattern? Nowadays, Mozambique has become a key player in the global ruby market, with the Montepuez deposit emerging as a major source. Initially discovered in 2009, the Montepuez deposit gained official recognition for its ruby potential around the same time. However, it wasn't until 2012 that Gemfields, a significant player in the industry, entered the Mozambican market, kickstarting large-scale ruby mining operations. Since then, Mozambique has solidified its position as a major supplier of rubies worldwide, with the Montepuez deposit playing a pivotal role in meeting global demand for these precious gems. In Montepuez, Gemfields gives a quarter of what they mine to the Mozambican government and keeps the rest. Currently, Gemfields is the primary extractor not only of rubies but also of emeralds in Zambia. At the Kagem deposit, a similar arrangement is in place. It contributes about a quarter of the world's emerald supply. When it comes to Gemfields, they often showcase their efforts in local education, building schools, hospitals, and generating employment in their advertisements. However, there's another aspect of their operations that receives less attention. As a powerful giant monopolizing ruby mining in Mozambique, it has forced out the prospectors and the Sri Lankan traders who historically bought raw materials from them. I know very well the stories told to me by my close partners from Sri Lanka who used to supply rubies. I distinctly remember that around 2014 to 2016, there was a significant decline in the availability of reasonably priced rubies, followed by a sharp increase. What caused that increase? Gemfields company switched to an auction format for ruby sales, and in 2015, at an auction in Singapore, Gemfields offered 72,000 carats of ruby material of various grades and qualities. At that time, in 2015, they reached a record price for a carat of raw material, averaging $617 per carat. Out of the 72,000 carats, they sold around 50,000, which is about 65 to 70% of the total they put up for auction. These were record sales with enormous volumes, and since 2015, we've seen a substantial rise in ruby prices, reaching up to 220% if we take 2005 as the starting point. Over the past 10 years, we've witnessed a 220% increase. Currently, this growth is less dramatic but steady, as seen in the charts, yet ruby prices continue to rise. This is because historically, most valuable ruby deposits in Burma no longer yield large quantities of high-quality jewelry material. Rubies are still mined in Mogok and Mongshu in Burma, But it must be noted that this material is typically of lower jewelry quality and often contains cracks. For rubies from Mongsu, almost 95 to 98% of the material is heat treated. This is due to the fact that most of this material has a blue core inside the crystal, which can be removed after low temperature heating. Additionally, rubies from Mongsu, which exhibit strong fluorescence and a beautiful red color, often have extensive cracks. The material is valuable yet significantly flawed. To reduce risks during cutting, ruby material from Mongsu is often heated along with borax to heal any cracks and provide additional protection during the cutting process. Most global laboratories, like the renowned Swiss labs Gubelin or SSEF, rate the quality of such stones as very low due to the presence of borax or flux in the cracks. However, we clearly understand that this does not affect the color of the stone. It only protects it from physical damage and helps maintain its integrity. So, the GRS laboratory, led by Adolf Peretti, implemented a classification system for the presence of flux or borax in ruby cracks. This was done because over 95% of the valuable and beautiful material from Mongsu is heated with borax to preserve the stone. Adolf Peretti, head of GRS, realistically evaluates the market and recognizes how unique, rare, and valuable such material is. Hence, he included the presence of foreign substances like flux or borax in his classification. This is indicated in the certificate by the letter H, meaning heated, signifying the stone was heat treated. Additionally, next to the H, you'll see A, B, C, or D in parentheses, indicating the amount of borax in the cracks. HA means a minimal amount of borax is present, maybe one or two small surface-reaching cracks on the pavilion, for instance, containing this material. Compared to emeralds, this would fall under the category of insignificant, the lowest detection threshold on the material's spectrum. This is standard practice. It's not uncommon to encounter costly Burmese rubies from the Mongsu region that were heated, labeled as H and rated A, yet are still granted the premium trading color designation of pigeon blood. In recognition of the rarity and uniqueness of Burmese rubies, the GRS laboratory assigns this color category even to stones with borax. Unlike Gubelin and SSEF, they employ over 12 critical criteria to assess whether a stone qualifies for colors like pigeon blood for rubies or royal blue for sapphires. I can assure you that these standards and requirements are somewhat idealistic and challenging for the current market to fulfill, especially considering that colored stones are becoming increasingly scarce. Talking about rubies, we understand that Burmese rubies are becoming scarcer and scarcer, and currently, for a Burmese ruby, the 3-carat boundary is a serious leap in weight grading, which immediately elevates the stone to another level of rarity and value. When discussing the 5-carat threshold for a Burmese ruby, there's a substantial price increase, often multiple times higher, rendering this stone extremely rare and unique. Currently, there are scarcely any other weight categories available in the market. It's crucial to emphasize this point. When it comes to Burmese rubies, end customers often request, "I want Burmese rubies, preferably a pair of unenhanced pigeon blood ovals or even cushions for earrings." Yes, this is a realistic request, but it will take a long time to find these stones. Since such material is no longer mined, it will be sourced from the secondary market, personal collections of various suppliers, and participants in the Asian market, with prices starting at more than $50,000 per carat at the minimum. Prices can be much higher, reaching several $100,000 per carat on the global market. Certainly, this is a high price, affordable for a jewelry house with a century or more of history, but not for small jewelers running a modest business. But nevertheless, such high prices are justified due to the rarity and uniqueness of the material. If you manage to acquire these stones for a photo shoot or to offer to a client, you can essentially name your price. Ultimately, it comes down to your personal reputation. Will the client return to you after comparing prices and realizing they've significantly overpaid? In the best case, they won't come back to you. In the worst case, they will be furious. So, It's a matter of your reputation and the business practices you follow. But such prices are listed on the market. I told you that at the starting point, rare Burmese rubies over 5 carats will be tens of thousands of dollars per carat. That's the starting point, the Asian dealer price. Every dealer decides their pricing and the coefficients they use. For truly rare stones like Burmese rubies over 5 carats, over 7 carats, or even over 3 carats, pricing is very complex due to the limited availability and the lack of extensive statistical sales data. Burmese rubies are currently considered as the most valuable. For rubies, Burma is a brand that commands a significantly higher price compared to stones of similar quality from Mozambique. Regarding Mozambican rubies, they generally have fewer chromium impurities and more iron impurities, which gives them a slightly different color, even in the valuable pigeon's blood color category. This color often has burgundy notes and a rich red hue. Certain global labs, including Lotus in Asia, led by Richard Hughes, who wrote the Bible on rubies and sapphires, have created a color category called royal red for these stones, a darker shade than pigeon's blood. I believe this classification is accurate. For Mozambique rubies, royal red is more common. If you want to create a jewelry set with rubies, such as a necklace, pendant, earrings, or rings, Mozambique is the only option. This is a fact. Mozambique stands alone in its ability to offer the diversity required to create a necklace with, for instance, a 7-carat center stone, 5-carat, 3-carat, and 4-carat side stones, all well matched in cut, color, untreated, and within the same clarity category. Today, it's impossible to assemble a similar necklace with Burmese rubies. Therefore, global jewelry houses use Mozambican rubies to their maximum potential and appreciate the mines for providing a selection of stones in significant weight categories. We consistently receive requests from Chinese customers for Mozambican rubies, which are in high demand. You can purchase a 5, 7, or even 16-carat untreated ruby in the pigeon's blood color, the rarest and most valuable color grade, which you cannot find in Burma. When you hold a Burmese ruby in one hand and a Mozambican ruby in the other, you can see the difference. Burmese rubies are typically brighter with fewer burgundy and dark shades. They are vivid, often showing a pink or raspberry component in their color, whether heated or not. This might disappoint some people expecting a pure scarlet color. Burmese rubies have a high chromium content and exceptional fluorescence. Under different lighting conditions, whether strong natural daylight or artificial warm light, the stone will look more vibrant and change color, appearing pinker or redder depending on the light source. So, as I mentioned, this might disappoint some people because they expect a pure scarlet color that remains unchanged. Burmese rubies are very dynamic, reacting differently under various lighting conditions, which is their strong point. This slight color variation shouldn't be seen as a flaw, instead it adds to their charm. In Burma, we don't usually find other colors. Burmese rubies always have this slight pink or raspberry tint in their hue. This is normal. These shades are absent in Mozambican rubies, which typically exhibit a pure red color. However, they can sometimes have darker, more deeply saturated tones. These are the main differences, of course. When considering the influence of enhancement on price, rubies are typically treated for high jewelry quality using low-temperature heat treatment, where temperatures often do not exceed 1000 degrees Celsius. This controlled temperature allows for the preservation of rutile remnants within the stones, even after undergoing this low-temperature heat treatment, which may result in the presence of rutile silk. This is a very beautiful effect, and from a gemological point of view, it results in a partial loss of the stone's transparency, which reduces its clarity. However, from a market perspective, when you see this velvety and dense color inside, because very often rubies, due to being a super rare, unique material, are faceted with large faces but with windows gaping in the center in terms of cutting, and this silk helps cover the window. Visually, the stone will appear larger than a stone without a window and have an internal, glow, brilliance, and velvety texture. Therefore, these stones are also very beautiful and in high demand in Asia. Not long ago, we sold a 5-carat Mozambican ruby an absolutely scarlet color with partial transparency loss due to being untreated, featuring a beautiful rutile silk inside. This silk reveals the stone's beauty incredibly well, creating an iridescent effect, light refractions, and even rainbow-like flashes. And these are also valuable stones, and they are slightly cheaper than perfectly clear rubies, but they should not be discounted. Due to the rarity and uniqueness of the material, one must appreciate the specific beauty of these stones. Regarding similar sapphires, some laboratories, including my favorite, Lotus, led by Richard Hughes, have created a special category for these stones, calling it velvet. This velvet effect, which also occurs in rubies, can be also found in rubies. When it comes to the price impact of treated versus untreated rubies, it's common in the market to hear claims such as an untreated ruby costing, for example, $10,000 per carat, while a treated one costs $5,000 per carat or $20,000 per carat versus $10,000 per carat. Essentially, they simplify it to a scheme where a treated ruby costs 100% and an untreated one costs 200%. Simply doubling the price. Under certain characteristics, carat weight, and specific nuances, such a price difference ratio might occur. The price can indeed differ by 2 or even 3 times, but this is rather rare, more of an exception, and a coincidence of specific parameters. In the broader market, there's no consistent pattern. Heated and untreated rubies with similar characteristics and beauty typically differ in price by about 30 to 50%. We don't see 100% difference or prices doubling. A common misconception among many market players is telling their customers that an untreated ruby costs twice as much as a heated one. In reality, the price difference is more likely 30, 40, or 50%, not double. It is important to inform your customers accurately without undervaluing the merits of heated rubies. Currently, ruby material is considered extremely rare and unique, sourced from only a few locations in limited quantities. Therefore, even a beautiful heated ruby holds significant value, costing thousands of dollars per carat if it's a substantial size, 2, 3, 4, or 5 carats, and beautiful. The GRS laboratory will also assign the top color category pigeon blood to heated rubies if they meet the color criteria. However, Gubelin or SSCF will never give this category to a heated stone. The first and most crucial parameter they use to evaluate commercial colors is whether the stone is treated. A heated ruby or sapphire cannot be labeled pigeon blood or royal blue. It will automatically be assigned as regular blue or red. This is a crucial point. I emphasize it because I often encounter buyers requesting a ruby, heated or not, but wanting a Gubelin or SSCF certificate with the pigeon blood designation. It's essential to understand the criteria these labs use to evaluate stones, as their standards are extremely stringent. SSF and Gubelin evaluate a stone based on 12 stringent criteria. A stone will only receive the pigeon blood or royal blue designation in its certificate if it meets all 12 criteria, and 4 experts agree such stones are extremely rare on the market. Therefore, it's essential to consider more progressive labs like GRS, which are more aligned with the global gemstone market. As Gemstock in Bangkok, a colored gemstone dealer, we became official agents of the GRS laboratory in July 2020. This partnership provides us with significant advantages, including discounts and expedited certification timelines for our stones. We can certify special stones within 72 hours at considerable discounts from the official price list. We have ongoing communication with Adolf Peretti to discuss rare stones, create books, and write additional appendices for stones deserving special attention. This often happens with rubies. Even a heated Mozambican ruby, over 10 carats, deserves an appendix, an additional certificate page explaining why the stone is so rare. The combination of its color, clarity, cut, size, and even the fact that it is heated still doesn't make it common. This is important. When dealing with your end customer and fulfilling their requests, please recognize that some materials are extremely rare, particularly in the case of rubies. Heated rubies can be highly valuable if they are beautiful, while untreated rubies are even more expensive. Typically, the price difference ranges from 30 to 50%. In rare and exceptional cases, the cost can double or triple, But such a significant increase usually involves an additional evaluation factor, such as the stone's origin. We've discussed how Burmese rubies are highly esteemed and command premium prices in the global market due to their rarity and reputation. Let's consider a scenario. A 5-carat heated ruby from Mozambique might be priced at around $10,000 per carat. Now imagine another 5-carat untreated ruby, equally stunning and labeled as pigeon's blood, but of Burmese origin. Its price could easily start at $50,000 per carat or higher. Such variations in price are entirely normal and acceptable, especially when considering additional factors like origin. This principle extends to other gemstones as well, such as emeralds sourced from Colombia, Zambia, Ethiopia, Brazil, Afghanistan, and the Urals. These factors significantly influence prices, as seen with sapphires from Burma, Kashmir, an old deposit, Sri Lanka, Madagascar, and so on. Typically, when comparing identical stones, one heated and the other untreated, both sourced from Mozambique, the price difference won't be twice. Instead, it usually ranges between 30 to 50%. I emphasize this point because it's crucial and often overlooked in the market dialogue. This misinformation affects both end customers and market participants. When requesting such a stone in Asia, it's essential to understand its true cost and have accurate pricing expectations. It's crucial to provide correct information to customers and avoid labeling heated rubies as inherently inferior under any circumstances. If your budget allows you, investing in an untreated ruby is an excellent choice. These stones have greater investment potential and tend to appreciate in value over time. They are becoming increasingly scarce, with untreated rubies being outnumbered by heated ones. We all understand this. However, if your budget doesn't allow for an untreated ruby, a heated one is a viable option. You could save 30 to 50% and potentially acquire a larger, cleaner, and equally beautiful stone. I assure you, a heated ruby is also valuable and has the potential to appreciate in price, but at a slightly slower rate and with slightly lower investment indicators. This is a normal occurrence, and it's essential to understand and emphasize this point. Another enhancement method that is not accepted by the global gemological community involves filling cracks in ruby rough with lead glass, creating what is known as a ruby glass composite. In some instances, the ratio of glass to lead glass and ruby can be around 50% each. Other times, it may be 30% glass to 70% corundum. Stones enhanced in this rough manner typically have a low value, often priced at just a few dollars per carat. Understanding this is crucial. These stones can reach considerable sizes, ranging from 5 to 10 carats, and exhibit various cuts like marquises, cushions, pears, rounds, and more. However, they do not meet the standards for jewelry-grade material. Despite being prevalent in many mass-market stores, the true nature of this material is often undisclosed. It's essential to have a clear and accurate gemological understanding of such stones. These are ruby glass composites, formed by baking red burgundy corundum with glass. While I won't delve into the specifics here, I've extensively covered this process on Instagram, including factory visits. It's important to note that this material does not meet the standards for jewelry quality from the outset and should be accurately identified as red burgundy corundum. As a result of the multi-step heating process, the extraction of additional substances from the cracks, filling them with glass, and subsequent baking, we observe the emergence of beautifully red stones in the final product. However, it's important to note that these stones are not considered genuine rubies. Our discussion primarily revolves around high-quality heated and untreated rubies, which are not commonly found on the global jewelry market. Such high-quality rubies are typically sought after by top jewelry houses, serious artisans, and collectors due to their rarity and exclusivity. When discussing how pairing affects the price, it's crucial to understand that matching colored gemstones significantly impacts their value. In the case of colorless diamonds, such as round 1-carat stones, finding a match is relatively straightforward. You can open wrap.net, search for 1-carat diamonds with similar color and clarity characteristics, and easily find a pair. Pairing colored gemstones poses unique challenges. Certain categories of colored stones demand meticulous attention to match in color, quality, clarity, cut, and other aspects. Rubies are a prime example of this. Searching for a single 5-carat untreated ruby is typically straightforward and could take a few days or perhaps a few weeks. However, if the request is for matched pairs like for earrings, the timeline significantly lengthens. Narrowing the search to matched pairs can extend the timeline to several months, significantly impacting the cost. Generally, for colored stones, matched pairs can be priced 10 to 30% higher than individual stones. For rubies, the price can increase by 50% if you have a well-matched pair. Take, for example, 2 well-cut ovals over 5 carats each that can truly be considered a pair can see a substantial price increase. Regarding the criteria for evaluating pairs, whether they are a perfect match or not, you need to approach this with an understanding that these are rare materials. When encountering 2 5-carat rubies, one slightly rounded cushion-shaped and the other a well-defined oval, it might seem initially that they don't form a pair. However, if their linear dimensions are very close and they match well in color, they are indeed considered a pair. We need to understand that this is a pair. Look at the photos from renowned jewelry houses featuring Colombian emeralds in necklaces or earrings or bracelets with multiple emeralds. Notice how the stones often vary slightly in linear dimensions. Some are more elongated, others more rounded, because the material is so valuable and rare that recutting it to a precise caliber is simply unacceptable. Even world-class brands adhere to these standards. They don't take Burmese rubies and cut them all to a uniform size like 5x5 or 7x6. Such standardizations are not applied to high-quality colored gemstones. They are never cut to standardized calibrated sizes such as 7x5 ovals, 6x8, or 6x4 pairs. In the realm of expensive colored stones, standardized calibrated sizes simply don't exist. This fact complicates the pairing process significantly, making pairs inherently more costly. As previously mentioned, for high-quality rubies, the markup can reach 50%, and finding such a pair requires a considerable time investment due to the added complexity. We significantly narrow our filter and search parameters. Often, to achieve a perfect match between 2 stones, one must purchase from one supplier and find a similar stone from another. These stones must closely align in linear dimensions. This extensive selection process incurs additional costs. Due to the complex nature of this process, demanding considerable time and effort, it inevitably affects the cost of ruby sets. For instance, when crafting a finely matched line of rubies for a bracelet featuring 5, 8, or 10 stones, the expenses escalate significantly. The origin of the stones plays a significant role in determining their price. The most coveted and expensive rubies hail from Burma, yet they are exceedingly rare. Material currently sourced from Burma is heated and of lower jewelry quality. High-quality Burmese rubies are primarily available on the secondary market. Prices are exceptionally high and encompass a premium due to the multiple transactions these stones have undergone, with each subsequent sale further elevating their value. The value of Burmese rubies continues to rise, presenting a compelling investment opportunity primarily within the secondary market. Meanwhile, rubies sourced from Mozambique, notably from the Montepuez mine operated by Gemfields since 2012, have also gained prominence. There's a lot of them on the market. Though still considered a rare jewelry material, they are relatively accessible. Varieties range from 1 carat to 5 carat stones, with larger specimens exceeding 7 to 10 carats. These untreated rubies also rare, also valuable, but considerably cheaper than their Burmese counterparts. The stones also differ in shade, as I mentioned at the beginning. Mozambique is not the only source of rubies. Rubies with deeply colored red hues have been historically mined in Thailand. Afghanistan, particularly in the Jagdalek region, also yields notable specimens. Presently, ruby mining activities are active in Madagascar. Though less prevalent now, Sri Lanka once contributed to the ruby market. Hence, there are several mining regions contributing to the availability of rubies. It's crucial to highlight that the highest quality rubies are predominantly sourced from Mozambique, while other regions in Africa, such as the Windsor deposit in Tanzania, also contain ruby deposits. They represent singular material with limited representation. When considering the market and the likelihood of finding a stone at a reasonable price, Mozambique emerges as the primary destination. Indeed, rubies exist in the Pamirs, Tajikistan, but they tend to exhibit a distinct pinkish hue. However, some stringent laboratories such as Gubelin or SSEF might not classify them as rubies according to gemological standards. These laboratories often evaluate the colored stone market purely from a gemological perspective, without taking into account real-world market conditions. Gemology is meaningless without considering the colored stone market. Studying stones that don't sell is of little interest. Therefore, gemology must be integrated into the real market to be truly relevant. That's what we see in the GRS laboratory, which understands mining realities, rarity, and material uniqueness. This allows GRS to adapt their documentation and introduce new color grades. This, of course, helps us dealers to work with this material and helps us explain to the client why it costs so much. Because in addition to your professional opinion, there is also the opinion of the universally recognized world expert Adolf Rarity, who confirms the rarity of color, size, and so on, in some additional appendix, if we're talking about a platinum award. Returning to Pamir rubies, they are very beautiful, but they have this pinkish component. As I mentioned, some Swiss laboratories wouldn't categorize them as rubies because of the color. They would categorize them as pink sapphires. However, GRS classifies them as rubies, understanding the extreme uniqueness and rarity of this material mined in the Pamirs. Despite being relatively small, around 2 to 3 carats, and exhibiting a lovely red-pink hue, they are still considered rubies by GRS. Regarding origin, Mozambique is currently the primary supplier, with approximately 70 to 80% of the market's rubies coming from there. Madagascar also shows great potential as a significant source. The most important thing to remember is that Mozambique is the primary supplier today, offering a stable enough flow of material to even create necklaces. Meanwhile, 95% of Burmese rubies are heated, often with flux-filled cracks. Mongsu and Mogok rubies are very scarce on the market, especially in jewelry quality. It's also important to understand that the cutting quality of Burmese rubies is extremely low. Asian cuts in general are criticized for being asymmetrical, with poor proportions and windowing. We understand that the cutting style is often not asymmetrical, with poor proportions and windowing. However, this should be viewed in the context of the material's rarity. When it comes to rubies, the material itself is extraordinarily rare. Therefore, it's not uncommon to encounter a stone with a relatively large face that ends up with a window through which light passes, even when stretched to 3 or 4 carats. This is because each carat of this material costs thousands of dollars. Given its value and rarity, it's natural that stones with good symmetrical cuts, devoid of windows, and boasting excellent color play command higher prices. The impact of cutting quality on the price may not have been as evident on the global colored stone market a decade ago. Burmese rubies 10 years ago were often irregularly cut, so much so that even the Burmese themselves joked about it. I heard this repeatedly. They humorously referred to their cut as the potato cut, likening it to peeling a potato. Indeed, Burmese rubies often have asymmetrical, irregular shapes, with off-center pavilions and large windows. Even 10 or 12 years ago, such stones still sold for very high prices. Nowadays, expensive stones are primarily bought by Chinese consumers, who have become quite discerning. Their increased knowledge has raised the standards for cutting quality. When we see a Burmese or Mozambican ruby with what we call a European cut, it definitely impacts the price. The price can rise by 20 to 30% because of good quality cutting, which effectively captures the color, has good color return. It also affects the price. When it comes to pricing rubies, it's important to understand that high quality jewelry grade rubies, whether heated or unheated, cost thousands of dollars per carat. Even smaller rubies under a carat rarely cost in the hundreds of dollars per carat. they generally still command prices in the thousands of dollars per carat. For instance, a 1-carat ruby from Mozambique with a good red color close to pigeon blood or vivid red would certainly cost several $1,000s per carat. The price of a ruby depends on its specific quality. If you encounter a 1-carat ruby from Mozambique priced above $10,000 per carat, it's important to recognize that this price is highly inflated. That's a key insight to keep in mind. When discussing how price increases with the weight of the stone, ruby categories are quite significant. There's the 1-carat category with one price range. Once a ruby surpasses 3 carats, its price per carat roughly doubles. If a ruby exceeds 5 carats, which is very rare for this material, the price increases exponentially. For example, while a 1-carat ruby might cost several $1,000s per carat, a 5-carat ruby can command tens of thousands of dollars per carat. A 5-carat ruby can easily reach $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, or even $30,000 per carat. These are base prices, and prices for rubies in jewelry pieces from renowned houses or in-store displays will be much higher, which is understandable. If you want to save money, consider buying stones directly from dealers in Asia. Otherwise, you can purchase a ruby in a jewelry piece from any prestigious house. However, always pay attention to certificates. A ruby over 1 carat should have a significant international certificate. Why international? Because most international laboratories, both Swiss and Asian, can determine not only the stone's quality in terms of color and treatment, but also its origin. As we've discussed, the origin greatly affects the price. Burmese, Mozambican, and Afghan rubies are quite valuable, though Afghan rubies are very rare on the market. New mining locations typically offer lower prices than established ones. For instance, Mozambican rubies are cheaper compared to Burmese rubies, but Mozambique is also becoming a recognized brand. Mozambican rubies are in high demand, providing us with excellent opportunities to work with them. That's all I wanted to share about rubies. To summarize, in the high, premium, and luxury segments of jewelry quality, these stones are expensive, costing thousands of dollars per carat. That concludes my discussion on rubies. To summarize, within the high-end, premium, and luxury segments of jewelry quality, these gemstones are costly, often fetching thousands of dollars per carat. When investing in gemstones, it's crucial to compare them. As a buyer, the price difference might not be obvious without a comparative palette. Only market professionals can provide you with this comparative palette. They can present several stones for you to observe the color variations and decide whether to opt for a higher or lower quality stone. Here, you ultimately make the decisions, but it's essential to have options. Also, consider the supply chain's complexity. If you're purchasing from the very end of the chain, perhaps the 10th or 5th link, the gem may not be available at the best price. Even if the gemstone has investment-worthy characteristics, its potential may not be fully realized if you're already significantly overpaying for it at that stage. In such a scenario, there might not be sufficient time for its value to appreciate naturally. Therefore, it's crucial to consider the source when making such purchases. In today's era of information accessibility, discovering information about suppliers is straightforward. By discerning their location, you can gain clarity on their position in the supply chain. For instance, if it's a European or American Instagram account, you likely encounter the last link. Conversely, companies operating in Asia or with a historical presence represent different segments. Naturally, these distinctions come with significant price differences. So that's all I have on rubies. In the upcoming lecture, we'll explore the topic of blue sapphires.